Raw is in the books, and we are going to look at that and more on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. The Raw before Crown Jewel this coming Saturday from Saudi Arabia. A lot going on in the Saudi show this weekend. Really looking forward to that for sure. And we're going to get on with some of the shenanigans that went on Monday Night Raw. But before we do that, some news from the WWE today. WWE ID is coming out. And what is ID? Well, WWE are now basically going to be selecting a few indie promotions to assist basically creating the stars of tomorrow. Now, a lot of these indie promotions are kind of affiliated to the WWE in one of a better way. Seth Rollins' is school. I'm not saying indie promotions, it's more wrestling schools and promotions. Seth Rollins for one. The Nightmare Academy from Cody Rhodes is another one. Booker T's RQW is one. I think maybe even Bubba Ray's maybe Team 3D's maybe going to be a part of it as well. But basically, the WWE will be helping with this. They do some. I think this helps with some sort of the standout independent talents funding to do bits and pieces for top level training. Very interesting that they're doing that. NWA do obviously do territories, which they do to assist with Stars of Tomorrow. WWE doing WWE ID. Interesting to see where that goes and what and how that shapes future talent. That's for sure. More information on that. I think WWE have announced a press release which you can go and view on their X account. Go and see it. But interesting times in WWE as they create and look for the stars of tomorrow. But it's the stars of right now that we need to talk about. Monday Night Raw, Jay and Jimmy Uso start the show, and all is still not quite well in the Bloodline originals, shall we say. On SmackDown this past week, Jimmy and Jay did indeed reunite. Roman wasn't there, but he was looking on from afar as SmackDown went off the air. But the way they were talking is that they've still got some family issues to resolve with Roman Reigns. We're not going to be right hand man and all of this sort of stuff. It's going to be Jimmy and it's going to be Jay. And this coming week on SmackDown, they were going to confront Roman Reigns to make sure that he is singing off of the same hymn sheet before we get to Crown Jewel, where they will be facing three members of the Bloodline. Doesn't say who yet. Could be, I think it's the Gorillas of Dynasty and Jacob Fatu. I don't think Solo Sikoa is going to be a part of it, a part of the three anyway. But he will be definitely at ringside for this. And they do get into a big brawl with the Bloodline as well. They're huge brawl to close the segment with. They're all over the place. There's a lot of brawls on Raw this week, that is for sure. Crazy brawl, crazy. Yeah, they were super kicking Jacob Fatu. He was standing up through most of it. They were, but the new Bloodline was actually getting the better of Jimmy and Jay for a bit, and Jacob Fatu went to do the big sort of, I call it the arse squash in the corner. They threw the chair at him, hit him with a super kick. He didn't move. A double super kick knocks him out of the ring. But heating up, ready for SmackDown on Friday. Will Roman Reigns, although he's teaming with the Usos on Saturday at Crown Jewel, will they coexist? Will they even reunite properly? For those of you that have seen the SmackDown spoilers, because SmackDown was indeed taped last week, you will already know the answer to that indeed for sure. But massive brawl to kick off Monday Night Raw this week. So, and as I said, there's brawls throughout this. After that chaotic start, Adam Pearce was screaming at Nick Aldis down the phone about, take control of his roster because obviously the new Bloodline are on SmackDown, as is Jimmy Uso, of course. Jey Uso is one of the only ones that are currently on Raw right now, but he doesn't have time for it. But anyway, Dominik Mysterio interrupts it, wants to know who his opponent's going to be tonight because he's going to be taking on a former world champion, and he's got to beat that former world champion to get to potentially facing Gunther for the World Championship. I mean, I don't necessarily know if Dominic Mysterio's got his head screwed on properly right now, whether Liv's done some damage to him. Because wanting to face Gunther is crazy. I mean, last week they was all laughing at him. If you remember when he said he could beat Gunther, and yeah, good luck with that. But he does have to get through a former world champion to do so, and we will let you know. Well, you'll find out who it is when we get to it. First match of the night was a banger. It was, of course, Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. Sheamus has been kind of been missing for a few weeks, and again, these 2 hour Raws, perhaps not seeing, not showcasing the talent, but you could argue on the 3 hour Raws they weren't showcasing the talent enough. But Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser, two of the workhorses on Raw, because when they get in there, they do some incredible matches, and they are so, so good to watch in this. Sheamus does hit the Broad kick to pick up the victory on this, but him and Ludwig Kaiser, I don't think Sheamus will be winning world championships anytime soon, if that's my honest opinion. Ludwig Kaiser's definitely got a lot of potential to do so. Potentially, he'll have to break away from Gunther, but we know how that turns out for Giovanni Vinci on SmackDown at the minute. Not very well is the answer to that. So I do think there's a lot of potential with Kaiser. Sheamus will always give you a great match, and he did this week with Ludwig. But the bottom line is, I suppose, is where does it go from there? They're not really in contention for Braun Breaker. They're not really in contention for Gunther. So what happens now? Sheamus wins. Does he set his sights on Braun Breaker? Maybe Braun Breaker's the next one for Sheamus. Perhaps he looks down that route. That would be, again, another certified banger for sure. And Ludwig Kaiser would always be in the shadows of Gunther until he comes out and wins something. And when he had Vinci, at least they had the tag team championships they could have gone for. But yeah, interesting times for Sheamus and Kaiser. They're really sort of stuck in the mid. It's a bit like clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Well, they've got champions to the left of them and champions to the right, and they're stuck in the middle with each other. And putting on bangers though, that's all that matters. And Sheamus picks up a big victory over Ludwig Kaiser. Rhea Ripley was in at the back at this point, and she wants the Women's World Championship back. That's basically what the whole be all and end all of this. I think she has to get through Raquel Rodriguez to get another shot potentially at Liv. I don't know. I believe she may have Raquel Crown Jewel or coming up at some point. And Rhea wants her women's championship back. She does say keep your own friends close and your enemies closer. But it is interesting how they're going to do this, and Rhea's going to have to get through Raquel at least. Does she have to go and win the Royal Rumble even to get back to Liv Morgan? There's no real. What I would say about it is there's no real other contenders on Raw that are stepping up to Liv at the moment. The Judgment Day. What I would say is the Judgment Day and maybe going through some more turmoil. We'll get into that in a minute, but no one's really stepped up to Liv Morgan other than Rhea Ripley at the moment. So are they sort of keeping it on the D-low a little bit until the next, obviously Liv's got Nia Jax coming up this Saturday for that pointless championship over in Saudi Arabia. Don't get me started. I'm not going there on this one. I ranted about it last week and the week before. I'm not going to rant about it this week. But obviously they've got that match going on Saturday with Rhea and Nia, potentially a cash in from Tiffany Stratton as well. We've got to keep our eyes on that. But Rhea Ripley focused on the women's championship and getting even more revenge on Liv Morgan. Now, Bloodline again. The original OG Bloodline, the Usos run into Sami Zayn backstage, and Sami Zayn wants a word with Jey Uso alone, which Jimmy Uso wasn't that keen on, but Jey said, I've got it, Us. And Sami Zayn was asking Jey about whether or, if he's sure that he wants to get back into this. He's been his own man, he's gone and done his own thing, and he's come out of Roman Reigns' shadow. And, Jey was like, he understands where Sami is coming from. And, Sami Zayn's in, he's not going to pick sides in this. And Jey shouldn't get involved because it's not Jey's fight anymore. element of truth to that from Sami Zayn, to be quite honest with you. However, Jay did say that Sami can never understand what's happening because he's not family. Oos. Now, that goes way back to the honorary Oos, the original Bloodline storyline. There's more to this, and we'll get in. I don't want to talk about it now because something else happens on Raw that we'll talk about, and it may become a bit clearer. There is more to this story, and I'm going to give you my prediction as to where it goes. We are going to do the Crown Jewel predictions at the end of this as well, by the way. So, definitely more to this story than meets the eye, and we'll get into that. Gunther cuts yet another promo about Cody Rhodes in the championship, and he's going to be on SmackDown, and you know, Randy Orton's got, I think, Ludwig Kaiser, I think, this coming week on SmackDown, or something along those lines. Just another promo from Gunther about, how he's going to win the Crown Jewel Championship, another pointless championship that we don't need to talk about. And this is all it's really been. It's been Cody and Gunther going together on, on these promo battles. And yeah, it's been really that it's been quite boring, to be honest with you. This whole I'm really looking forward to the match, really am, but I'm just sick and tired of this whole what do you want to talk about? Well, I'm the best. Well, no, I'm the best. Well, I'm the ring general. Well, I'm Cody Rhodes. Who cares? Just get on with it. Really, just get on with it because promo battles, they're both a good promo. They can both talk. They are both a good promo, but by God, that is all we've had for weeks. We just want the action. And he is basically, Gunther's promo ended with him saying that Cody Rhodes will wake up to the realization that he's just a secondary champion to Gunther. Well, we'll see this coming Saturday when they do finally get it on in the ring, and I'm looking forward to the match itself. The talking can finally stop at Crown Jewel this Saturday. Thank Christ for that. And we now get on to our second match of the evening. Wow, we've had two matches on Raw in the first hour. Selena Vega and Ivy Nile, two people there, and that could potentially look at Liv Morgan and may want to go for the championship. And this match, who knows, could have championship implications as to who challenges Liv next. And Selena Vega and Ivy Nile are two very, very well matched. Selena Vega's got they're both quite in height wise, they're both really small, but it's quite weird because Selena Vega's got the sort of lucha libre style way of working, and Ivy Niles, that she has got a build, she's got muscles, she's quite, the muscle really, although a pocket rocket, a bit like Jordan Grace in a lot of ways, and they put on an actually really good match. The only thing I would say about it was, you knew that this match was going to have interference from the LWO, and you knew this was going to have interference from Diamond Mine or American Made, and the LWO does indeed start brawling with American Made, and in the end, the the swinging Uranagi slam from Ivy Nile got the win, and then great win for Ivy Nile, and it's about time. And Selena Vega deserves more than what she's getting, and I'm not going to go on about secondary women's titles. This would have been a prime example of what you could have done with it. And apart from the obvious interference and the obvious brawling, and again, we had a lot of brawling. There's a massive brawl coming up in a minute that we're going to get into. They kind of took it away from these two, kind of took the limelight off these two. Ivy and Selena are such good workers. Selena Vega, probably one of the most improved workers. Selena Vega reminds me a little bit of like Liv Morgan when she was coming up to getting the championship. She's in that sort of position. She's had a few title shots, don't get me wrong, but she's in a position that, as I said, I see that what Liv Morgan was in maybe a couple of years ago when she had actually her first run a couple of years when I first joined the channel, near enough. She was world champion. She had a decent run. I didn't think she was ready, and Parker at the time said he actually thinks that she was, and it was an interesting part. That's where I see Selena Vega now. She's at that point where she could win the world championship. Is she? Would it work? I don't know. But yeah, that's where I see Selena Baker. Ivy Niles not quite at that point yet. I do think she should be a champion though, and I do think Selena as well. And to be fair, they're both very capable of winning world championships. And again, like I said before, secondary title would go very much well on Raw and SmackDown. And two right there. But Ivy Nile pick up the victory this week as the brawl between American Made and LWO continued. Now, we did go backstage to a yet another Jimmy and Jay chat where Jimmy Uso wants to smooth things over with Sami Zayn. And again, like I said before, more on that in a minute. But I did say we were going to get yet another a brawl, and Jesus Christ, did we get a big brawl? Seth Rollins, Bronson Reed. Seth Rollins was coming out. He's after a monster. Well, guess what? You didn't have to look far because, there he was. And he did promise, Bronson Reed just sort of said, he promised Adam Pearce that we wouldn't get a repeat of last week. We wouldn't get into that arena and cause chaos. He went, but if you want to hunt a monster, I'm in the parking lot. Well, of course, that means that Seth Rollins was going to go into the parking lot, and they had an absolute brawl and a half in there. There was one point where Bronson Reed launches Seth Rollins onto the hood of the car. He does actually attack Bronson Reed after that with a tractor trailer door. He hits a curb stomp on the car, and you think, well, that's it. This is over. And Rollins was like, people has forgotten about what he's capable of. And as he's saying that, Bronson Reed is getting back up, launches the security guards all over the place. He does, Seth then does hit him with a couple of super kicks. And then Bronson Reed threw a garbage can at Rollins. And at this point, I think he's on a production truck, inside a production truck. And then he launches Seth with a Death Valley driver off of this production truck through two tables. It was absolute chaos, and I loved it. Why couldn't Cody Rhodes and Gunther be doing this? Why does it, that is the type of stuff. I mean, personally, I loved it. I thought it was great. Seth and Bronson tearing lumps out of each other. And you know what? Like, it doesn't need to be meat madness. It doesn't need to be Braun and Bronson to do it. They've done this brilliantly, these two. They were kicking seven bells of shit out of each other, and I absolutely loved it. Anyway, let's focus on something else. Karrion Kross was with The Miz, and he said to The Miz that he's got two options: go through the Wyatt Six or go through the Final Testament. Well, more on that in a minute, because R-Truth was at back off, and he was with him Alpha Academy, and he says, you're better off with not having Chad Gable as the mentor. And as they say that, The Miz walks up, and The Miz apologizes to R-Truth, and he says, Maxine says Truth shouldn't listen to him. And Truth made The Miz the Awesome Truth. Well, basically pretended that the Awesome Truth were getting back together. They'd done the little dance thing, and as they'd done that, Truth clocks The Miz with a right hand and says, I wish you luck with the Wyatt Six because he's going to die. And with that, he saw Pete Dunne, and he called Pete Dunne Butch, and then just walked off. Quite a massive, weird segment on there, but a funny one at that. And The Miz does have to deal with the Wyatt Six, and more on that in a little bit. But we now saw the New Day, the War Raiders, and Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee in a triple threat number one contenders tag match. If you remember last week, we saw these tag team matches for number one contenderships all happen. And now it's the triple threat match between these three teams. And what a great triple threat tag it was. Three fantastic teams on this. I really did enjoy it. And there was a little bit of indecision again with the New Day, a bit more on that a little bit later on as well, backstage. But it was a great triple threat match. These three teams are fantastic. I really enjoyed it watching this match, and there was a bit where the Mysterio was going to hit the 619, but Chad Gable pulled Mysterio out of the ring at that point and applies the ankle lock on the floor. So Chad Gable going after Rey Mysterio. Not sure the reasons for this. We'll have to have a look at it. Perhaps they obviously they beat Diamond Mine last week, but we'll have the American Made or whatever you want to call them last week. But Chad Gable going after Rey Mysterio is an interesting one. But as they did that, Kofi was trying to, display his fighting spirit. The War Raiders connect with the springboard clothesline German suplex combination and get the victory and go on to face the Motor City Machine Guns, the new tag team champions. For those of you that didn't know, yes, the Motor City Machine Guns are already tag team champions of SmackDown anyway. They got Raw tag team champions. I'm sure they do. Oh, of course, Judgment Day. It's been so long since they've defended their tag team titles. I totally forgot they had them. Via the War Raiders are #1 contenders for JD McDonough, so they don't go and face Motor City Machine Guns. Ignore me. It's been a long day, and I've forgotten that. It's been so long since JD McDonough and Finn Balor defended as tag titles. I totally forgot they existed. I thought he was Motor City Machine Guns. Motor City Machine Guns did indeed win the SmackDown Tag Team Championships last week, so congratulations to them. But the War Raiders will indeed, I suppose, now go and face Judgment Day, Finn Balor and JD McDonough at some point, and go for the tag. Now that will be a hell of a contest, that's for sure. And looking forward to that, to be quite honest with you. And yeah, I look forward to seeing that match when it happens. It'll be a very, very good match indeed. That's for sure. Back with The Miz, and Karrion Kross has said to Miz that he better get in contact with Bo Dallas to find out why he keeps sticking his nose in the Final Testament business. Or if the Miz doesn't do that, he's going to break his legs. Well, fair enough, guys. Fair enough. Yes, so there is more to the Judgment Day coming up, actually. I want to talk about that. And now I want to talk about, sorry, I was getting lost in a trail of thought with my notes in front of me. Sami Zayn, Usos. So as you remember earlier, Jimmy Uso was going to piece things over with Sami Zayn. Well, he's out the back, calls Jay over, and he points over above this railing and the parking lot. Sami Zayn talking to Solo Sikoa. There you go, guys. Sami Zayn, Solo Sikoa having a chat. I'm going to get into that in a bit more detail in a minute as to where I think this is going when I do my Crown Jewel predictions. I know SmackDown is Friday. There may be a match or two added, but tough. You're getting them today. I may not be doing the SmackDown review Saturday, unfortunately. We'll see. Hopefully we'll get some time. We've got busy stuff coming up on the turnbuckle, and it's just whether or not I get the time. Potentially a new co-host joining us next week as well for some of these reviews. So yeah, we look forward to that as well. Main event time. Dominik Mysterio, 4 matches on a 2-hour show of Raw. Is that enough? You tell me. Dominik Mysterio was going up against a former world champion. You probably, if you know where the story has been going or where it has gone recently, you probably knew where this was going. And yes, it was indeed Damian Priest, the former world champion that the Kofi Kingston, that Dominik Mysterio had to beat to get a world title shot at Gunther. But you do know that if you're taking on Dirty Dom, you've got Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, and other members of Judgment Day. Not so much Finn Balor, interestingly enough. And again, more on that in a minute. And more on The Miz in a minute as well. We'll get into a couple of bits which happened on the social media aspect of WWE very, very shortly. But of course, Liv Morgan distracts Priest. Carlito again was attacking Priest as well. Priest was hitting him with chairs. Raquel Rodriguez pulls Carlito out of the ring. Priest did prevent Dom from leaving the ring, though. However, this was all after, and apologies, my notes are all over the place on this. The referee got distracted by Liv Morgan. The Judgment Day attacked Damian Priest, including JD McDonough, out of the ring. But Dom Mysterio did roll Priest up to get the victory and win the match against the former world champion. So Dominik Mysterio technically is in line for a title match against Gunther. Dominik Mysterio, you have just signed your own death warrant. with that to potentially take on Gunter at some point. But Damian Priest did indeed then attack Judgment Day with a load of chairs. He also hits the South of Heaven choke slam on Dominik Mysterio as Liv Morgan's distraught at ringside, and he stands tall over Mysterio as the show goes off the air. So Dom Mysterio beats Damian Priest and potentially gets a title shot. We'll have to wait and see about that. Again, I wouldn't want to be Dominik Mysterio at all. However, I did mention some stuff went down on the WWE social media channels. One of that stuff was Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods getting into it backstage about the miscommunication stuff that happened in a tag team match. The Miz comes into shot. He's going back onto his bus. Dexter Lumis is on the bus and pulls the Miz into the bus, and God knows what's happening. If you remember, you or two back, Dexter Lumis was the one that was going after the Miz again. He was going off before he got released the first time and everything like that. He was the one that was stalking the Miz. So it's kind of gone 360. And he's gone back to stalking the Miz, this time with his new character as the White Six, pulls Miz onto the bus door closes. New Day doesn't see that. Now, the other bit of interesting news, and this for the Judgment Day. At the end of Raw, what you don't see, sorry, is on the social media site, they go back to the Judgment Day's house or the Judgment Day's room or whatever you want to call it. Finn Balor is in there and he calls JD McDonough to one side while the rest of them are all kind of, coming down off of that big match with the Damian Priest. And he said to JD McDonough, we need to be concentrating on the tag titles. And JD was like, well, look, it's Dom, Finn was not having it at all. And he was like, no, you should have been concentrating on these tag team titles, even though they weren't defending and made no sense. Liv Morgan comes over and says to him, make sure everything's okay. And he was like, yeah, I'm just saying that we need, and Finn was like, yeah, I'm just saying that we needed to concentrate on these tag team titles. And she said, yeah, you're right. And was also talking about Dom Mysterio becoming world champion. Now, when you see that bit, Finn Balor facial complexion changes, seemingly not happy with the fact that Dom Mysterio is potentially, well, the next world heavyweight champion. So more trouble within the Judgment Day, it seems. Trouble within the Bloodline. Lots of other stuff going on Raw this week. There's trouble in Family Feud, shall we say. The New Day are still not quite happy. There's so much other stuff, Judgment Days imploding. The Bloodline is going crazy as well with the new and the old and Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, and everybody else as we move towards Crown Jewel. Now, just bear with me because I'm going to get the card up and we're going to go through Crown Jewel and predictions of their matches this coming Saturday. And again, we're going to be recording straight after the Crown Jewel pay-per-view this Saturday as well. So we'll have this straight out for you Saturday. But anyway, let's go with that. I'm going to do this in reverse order. I've taken this off of the wonderful site that is Wikipedia. So apologies if I'm wrong. Apologies if the matches are not necessarily in this order either. So there we go, people. Gunther and Cody. Oof, see, that's the match I'm really looking forward to seeing, and it's a match that's difficult to predict. I'm gonna say Cody Rhodes wins it. Or is he? Because I think if Cody wins it from SmackDown, Liv's got to win it from Raw. This is tough. I'm going to reverse it. Gunther's going to... No, because that means there's two heels. Oh, there's two heels anyway. Fucking hell, Adam. Right. Cody Rhodes wins the men's one. Liv Morgan wins the Raw one. Liv Morgan wins the women's one. And Tiffany Stratton cashes in on Nia Jax. There's two matches done. Boy. Seth and Bronson Reed. Jesus. I'm going to say Bronson Reed wins this one because I think there's more to their matches that are coming up. There's going to be quite a trilogy of matches. Bronson will take the first one, at Crown Jewel is my belief, and they'll have another maybe last man standing or cage or something along those lines, and Seth will eventually win it. But Bronson Reed gets his 15 minutes of fame in this one and beats Seth freaking Rollins in this. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Ooh, that is again because I'll tell you why it's so tough. Because Kevin Owens is recently re-signed, or it's been quietly re-signed. Yes, although Randy Orton has not had the better of it. Randy Orton wins it on that one. Randy Orton beats Kevin Owens in that. But again, there's going to be a few matches, I think. And eventually Randy Orton will take on Cody Rhodes for the championship. Cody Rhodes may be embroiled in other stuff in Survivor Series. I'll get to that in a minute. We'll tell you what that is going to be very, very shortly. LA Knight versus Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes. LA Knight retains, in my opinion, although LA Knight was kind of teasing a bit of a heel turn on SmackDown. This last part, he was a referee this past week, and yeah, kind of a little bit heelish, shall we say? But I think he retains on this one, on this particular one. Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair versus Damage Control versus Metaphor versus Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Ooh, it could be Metaphor, you know. But I'm going to stick with Cargill and Bianca Belair. I know they did lose it quite. I remember they lost it in quite quickly last time. I was quite surprised when they lost it before. But I'm going to go with them retaining on this occasion. Roman Reigns and the Usos versus the Bloodline. I believe this is Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu. I don't think so. It could be Solo. According to Wikipedia, it says Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and or Jacob Fatu. So I'm going to say that Solo doesn't get involved, and he sticks with Jacob, Tama, and Tonga. Tama and Tonga, fucking hell, Tama and Tonga in this Gorillas of Dynasty. And I'm going for the Bloodlines, the Solo Sikoa's team, to win it. Sami Zayn is going to inadvertently cost Roman and the Usos the match on this, and it's going to start a storyline that comes to Survivor Series. That's one potential. That's what I'm going for. That's how I see it. Now, there's also the other possibility that Sami Zayn actually helps them in this match, but a new member of their bloodline comes in, potentially Zilla, potentially Hikuleo, because at Survivor Series War Games, I think it's going to be 5-on-5, and Cody and Sammy will be a part of the original bloodline, and then there'll be 5. There'll be another member, Hikuleo, Zilla, that will be part of Solo. Could even be Kevin Owens. Thinking about it, and again, that's just come to me while we're on it. But in my opinion, Sami Zayn costs Roman and Jay and Jimmy the match in this one. And on this particular one, he will eventually join them, like I said before. But lots of stuff going on. Jesus, we've got some stuff coming up on the channel as well. Layla L coming up, recording with her very, very soon. Eric Bischoff's interview drops this week. So early review of 2024, guys. Not to be missed. AEW will be recording that this week as well. As I said before, we're going live, but we're not going live, but we were recording straight after Crown Jewel this coming Saturday. So really looking forward to everything. But keep it locked to HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on Instagram. And we'll be back with some more review shows, NWA review as well tomorrow night with me and the wonderful Miss Fiona Lockren. Don't miss that. But until then, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.